He was that name, man? Shit, bro. Um, so I'm gonna talk about a few different things. Uh, I'm testing out, letting you know what I'm tentatively gonna talk about at the beginning of these videos, because I've noticed and have talked about a couple of times the super short ass attention spans people got. It's crazy. So like, I don't know, fast forward, try to find the shit you want to hear that made you click, or listen for 8 minutes and then stop, whatever weird shit that is. But I have made the conscious decision I'm not gonna do like short form stuff unless it's like just to make a note for myself for later, or short thought. But as far as the overall work, I'm just gonna do what I do, talk. That's how I get to some of the things that I finally end up saying. It's like I'm working it out with you, you know what I mean? We're working it out anyway. So I'm definitely gonna talk about I'm definitely gonna talk about the stuff that I spoke about earlier. But I'm from less. I won't promise that. I was gonna say from less of a personal standpoint, but I'm just gonna talk about it. You know, I'm gonna try to be as analytical about it as I can, because that leads me to more epiphanies and interesting thoughts and shit like that. But I mean, a big part of why I'm doing this is to offer my position, because a lot of the time it seems like the position that I have is not completely, absent from the rest of, society, but many times don't see other people talk about it, or what I've found recently is I'll talk about it and I see other people talk about it. Maybe that's some algorithm shit, but it's not new people, it's people I already follow, so, or not follow, but people I already fuck with, and in some cases who fuck with me. So essentially truth, the concept of truth, if it is subjective, if it is objective, which many people have alleged to me today. Man, I tried to see if that dude wanted to, have a conversation or a discourse or a debate, maybe even. No answer. And I'm gonna talk about that, even just that concept. I am going to talk about some of the thoughts that I have, because I didn't do too much research into the divergent anomaly, conversation and the phenomena conversation. I kind of already, said the bigger part of what I would have said in a larger form video. That's why I'm just going to put it in this. But I am, so to be clear, I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but I might not, because it seems like I'm probably just going to say the same thing I said earlier. There's another video from earlier today. I don't know what the date is, but you do, because you can see the date and the timestamp and all that shit. But there's another one from today where I kind of talk about a couple things that were interesting to me. Blue Star Kachina video, and the, I don't know, Florida Mall alien video. Y'all wow. Y'all boys wild, bruh. There was another thing. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. No, that's a part of the first thing. I'm really going to do my best to not come off like I'm attacking Christians. Although I think that was gaslighting a little bit, you know, or mind games. Maybe not gaslighting because that's kind of extreme. Although I did get gaslit today. I don't know if I should talk about that. I'm going to talk about that loosely because, you know, I am not a blogger or a vlogger, but I am trying to be as, you know, as open with y'all as I can be, because I think it's beneficial. And like I said, for some reason documentation really seems important for some reason. Okay, so first thing, I was gonna wait. A couple people said they were gonna fall through, but I don't know. I really can't trust what this shit says anyway. I'm on Instagram. I don't know if I've ever said that in any of these videos. I think some people make the connection, but you can go live on YouTube. So, never said it before. I am not live on YouTube. I am live on Instagram. Oh yeah, I hit 50 subscribers today. That shit's cool. I'm not really counting, but I did have in the back of my mind that there are these milestones that you can hit where you can go live, and that's kind of the only one that I'm really paying attention to. Will I accept their dirty money? Yes, I will. I will go into the reason for that a little later. It's not even close to the most important thing to me, but it would help. I'll explain that in a little bit. I'm going to put a pin in that, sit in the back of my brain so I don't, you know, come off in a different light than I intend to. Alright, so, without assuming that people watch every video that I do, today has been a very strange day for me, and you know, speaking like personal life, not internet shit, because that, you know, I'll like notice some shit on the internet, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, that today was so rough, because it's the internet. Who gives a fuck about the internet? You know what I mean? You don't know these people. They can't see you. Most of the time when you actually stand your ground and say something back to them and don't like puss out instantly, even if it takes a couple of back and forths, they just back down. Like, it's usually personal shit with them. Like, they have some personal shit, whether it's existential, very big part of their life and you know, existence type shit, or just they had some recent trauma or some, you know, flare up of fear type shit. But most of the time it's that, you know, it's not that they really want to like come at you specifically. It's that they are in a weird energy, which is what I kept saying earlier. And the only reason I brought that up earlier is because I happened to notice that it was like not a localized thing. Like, it happened in person, like meaning, you know, personally in my life, and then on the internet. My kid was like kind of weird today, like super hype, but he's cool. He's always cool. Just, you know, that manifested in a wholesome way, like lots of energy and like physically, you know, physically rough. But he's a boy, so you know that's to be expected. But yeah, everything else was very prickly. I don't know what else to call it. But so what happened was, I'm doing my usual. I'm listening to videos and lectures and shit, And I've mentioned in past videos, I think it was the Nephilim videos. It is about a Nephilim video, one of those, or it number 2, I don't know. But I give him, props, because that is who I got that concept from. That's where that epiphany, came from. Because as I'm watching some of his videos that I originally watched, and he's, you know, dropping fucking facts, documentation and shit, is blowing my mind. And so as that's happening, other shit is connecting for me. Like, oh, that's in a film. That's why that makes sense. Fucking McDonald's, Ronald McDonald, always got kids, the Shriners, like all this shit starting to fly through my head. I'm like, oh no, this shit is real. And, so I appreciated that. So I gave him some props. And today, or better yet, let me say why I said that. I said that because part of what I said was, I don't really fuck with him personally. His work is good. He does good work most of the time. He does good work most of the time. I wouldn't have said that last part until recently, but I did say, I said this the first time too, so it's not like it's a new thing. I guess I just didn't think it was going to be like a theme for him specifically. And this is all opinion at the moment. Once I start talking about like truth, and you'll know when I'm not speaking in opinion anymore. I said that I had heard him say something about the Gnostics, and it came off as very like personal, like he had been slighted by them almost or some shit. And he spoke of them like a monolith, like they all represent one thing, like there's not different lanes of Gnosticism. There's Valentinians, there's Sethians, there's Rosicrucians kind of fall in there a little bit. It's, more of a secret society really, but there's some themes of Gnosticism in there. And I just thought it was really strange because not only is it not a monolith, but it is almost kind of like Buddhism, where you can be a Buddhist and you can be a Christian. You can be a Buddhist Christian. If I'm not mistaken, same thing with Taoism. There are things that you can practice that do not keep you from also, having faith in a specific higher power or practicing a specific religion, as even Abrahamic. So yeah, you can be a Buddhist, Muslim, or you can be a Taoist Christian, like, if I'm not mistaken. There are certain things that what you've been taught and what your worldview is, that comes from your surroundings. And if you haven't really traveled or read books or talked to anybody from other countries, it may escape you that you've been taught by the Abrahamic religions that everything else is also a religion and you have to pick one. And when you do pick one, there are versions of it that are just wrong. They're wrong. Even if they believe in Jesus like you or whatever, they're wrong. And that just came off as weird. And so, but like I said, I didn't think it was going to be a theme. So today, a video pops up in my subscriptions, and like I said, I've said this a few times, if something looks like I'm not going to agree with it, I still listen to it, because it's just something that I'm practicing on doing, and trying to do it with an objective ear, and form an opinion, but not instantly get upset or attack mode, or not that I do that, but I just notice other people do it. I guess it's more get defensive, which applies to today. So I'm practicing on listening to things that I know I might not agree with, because many times I have an opinion. Most of the channels that I frequent, we discuss opinions. let's remember that we discuss opinions on the channels, in these communities. So even if you don't like one, it's weird to, anyway. And so the video was called like Gnosticism is a Plague or some shit. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. You know what I mean? This is gonna be interesting. So it finally comes up in the queue. I'm listening to it, and it's not like a presentation. It's not a presentation. There's not really any documentation of anything. He's just like in the middle. It's like a clip from a live on YouTube, a live stream on YouTube, and he's reading comments. And I guess there are some Gnostics, which, let's start there very quickly. I'm gonna move back to the story in a second, but who mistakes a couple of people for as like representation for everyone in that group? Because something that I've noticed is like people will call themselves a thing and they don't even know anything about it. So it's very strange to me to start attacking a whole group or denomination or practice based on a couple people. If you notice a trend, like, you know, I talk about channelers and stuff sometimes, but the reason I talk about that is because it really seems like most people who are channeling want your money. They want your money, they want you to buy things, they want you to buy their crystals and readings, and they spam your inbox, and, you know, there's a weird kind of vibe on that right now. But there are channelers that are not only integrity based, but they're good at what they do. You know, they can do good readings. They can channel. I posted a picture a while ago, like a few months ago, of Tunnel Vision XOXO on YouTube. Very good channeler, at least for me. It's a subjective thing. You gotta find somebody that works for you. But, and she does like accept, you know, donations. She charges for channels and readings and stuff like that. But it's just a discernment thing. If someone's coming off as extra thirsty and hungry and they're constantly asking you for money, and you can tell they're cold reading and shit like that, that's not a good person. They're doing not good person stuff. But if a person seems like they really care about beings and they want to help, and they're just kind of trying to like exist in this weird ass simulation without, you know, having to completely conform to the soul crushing shit that everyone tells each other to do, that's not terrible. So if maybe because I know myself, obviously, I thought that would maybe be somewhat obvious. So, and I already kind of explained to the channeling people that that's how I felt. Anyway, so this dude is kind of like, in a way, he's kind of shitting on his own supporters, because even regardless to if the people that are in your comments, the beings that are in your comments, whether they agree with you or not, they're still contributing to your success. They're still supporting what you're doing. They're watching you, not just watching your videos like in a, you know, dark basement or some shit. They're supporting you in a live stream, and they're giving you engagement by commenting. This is all analytics. Like, you may not think about that because you've already in your head kind of made it. You know, if you have over a certain number of followers or subscribers, depending on what, you know, app you're talking about. But the reality is, like, every action either works in your favor or works against you. So those comments, they help you, whether they're negative or not. It's engagement. Doesn't matter if they're negative or positive. That's why you see some people milk that shit. They troll their own people. Maybe he's doing that. I doubt it, though. seems very earnest in in his anger and frustration. Um, but it did seem like there were some beings in the comments like fucking with him. I can't remember what the comments were, the initial comments that made him say these things. Uh, but regardless, I do remember thinking to myself, like, you're kind of crashing out. You know, I've been doing this for way less than you have, and, not nearly as established and so on and so on, but you are for sure crashing out. And when it got to that point, the things that he was saying were starting to come off as very like not he wasn't addressing those specific people. He was essentially speaking as though anyone that is not covered in the blood of Jesus is fucked. Which, even when I was a practicing or devout Christian, I didn't subscribe to that. I've never subscribed to that. I do believe that Jesus existed. I don't really tell people what I feel about the whole mystic part of it. I think I did recently though. I kind of went over it in the documentation of my theory. I think it's in the fourth video of the actual documentation. There's a bunch of videos in that playlist that still are in support and show the research of my theory. But there are 4 videos so far that are documentation. The 4th documentation video, I talk about a bunch of stuff before this, but I get to a point where I start saying, and then I think that, these gods, interdimensional tricksters, interdimensional beings, whatever you want to say, because some of them I don't think are tricksters, but they're still interdimensional, whatever. I think they started to, once they realized they needed to switch things up because of past, happenings and the frustrations of humans, they started to recruit humans. They started to breed with, human women for the purpose of having demigods. I don't think that was just because they thought they were beautiful, because if you go back, and look at some of the descriptions of just beings, not just women, but beings back then, they were not necessarily that attractive. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So, I think I'm getting sick again, dude. I hate winter. It doesn't exist naturally. So I think that they began to recruit and create management, new beings to help keep the corporation going, the company going, the conglomerate going. And so I think Jesus, not saying that he was not the omnipotent, or not omnipotent, but like benevolent. Where'd that come from? Benevolent person, being, deity that everyone claims, and like, many texts say he was. I just think that there is more of an explanation for a lot of what's there. And I also like to remind, beings that there is a theory with some, potential documentation that, that could have been a Shakespeare situation where you have either multiple authors or a different author than who is credited to each book write up the Bible. Take different texts and use them as a framework and compile them into a new book for enslavement and subjugation. Francis Bacon is who is alleged to have written and compiled, I'll say, that version of the Bible, because if you're unaware, King James, who supposedly authored that Bible, which is weird all on its own, that a monarch, a king, wrote a version of the Bible, also wrote a demonology book, you know? So, no, but the Christians don't really talk about that very often. The ones that do, though, they're cool as fuck. I like Christians that study. I like Christians that, Christian apologists are cool a lot of the time, unless they're super dogmatic. Most of the time, they're really analytical and scientific, though, and that's my type of homie right there. I have no problem with belief or faith or Christians for that matter. It's more so dogmatic attacks and the promotion of genocide and rape and severely patriarchal subjugation. Murder, sacrifice. Like, there's stuff that is shitty about the practices that are in that book. And one of the things I think people have an issue with is when they start to defend Christianity or whatever religion, they're thinking about their version of it. They're not applying the totality of that belief system or religion. So when one person says, oh no, XYZ is not violent, we're not racist, we're not whatever, that's just, they either say that's old, it used to be like that, or they're like, that's not really us, that's weird extremists and cult members and stuff. But then, not only do they not remember that they're speaking for just them and saying it as the entire religion or faith, but they're not being honest about themselves even. And I'll kind of expand on that in a minute, but dude's going at these people in his comments, so I go to the comments of this video, because the clip is from a live stream. And I say, I'm going to paraphrase the fuck out of this because I don't remember verbatim, but I wish I could open stuff on Instagram. It's going to be, hopefully, it's going to be fucking chilling when I can do YouTube live streams. I don't know when that's supposed to start, but I got the subs, so maybe it's the watch hours, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something around the lines of, like, I very much enjoy the Nephilim work, but I do think that, this is fairly aggressive, and, while I do... the first thing I'll admit is that everyone has their own truth, and his truth to him is, like it is for many people, the only truth. This is way far off from what I said. Understanding conspiracy. If you want to see what I actually said, go look. You can't miss it. Gnosticism is a plague. That's a pretty specific title. But I essentially said, while I do think this dude's response and then the choice to put up this clip specifically is, aggressive, and to say this stuff about truth and if you don't believe in Jesus type stuff is not only aggressive but weird for like a creator to do. It's his right. It's fully his right. It's his channel. It's his art, his research and work and stuff. But at the same time, it is strange to stand on that hill and then look at other people weird when they also do the same. Like, if that's the truth for you, if Jesus is the only way in your opinion, in your faith and whatnot, and that is the truth to you, you also, especially if you have like a researcher's mind or a scientific mind, whatever you want to call yourself, to then look at others and say your truth is incorrect and my truth is absolute, is just a strange thing to me. I'm not trying to take his truth from him. If you believe in Jesus in that manner, because other people believe in Jesus, they just don't believe in Jesus the way that you do. I am one of those. I believe Jesus existed in a way. I'm not sure which way. There are some divergent theories. I like that word if you can't tell. I'm finding more ways to use it. The book was cool too. But you can't prove what you believe to be absolute. So to call it truth is not wrong. But if you're gonna be mature about it and logical and truthful, you have to be able to acknowledge that that is your truth. Since you can't you can't prove what you're saying right now without using your Bible or your Bible's assertion of a rapture, then that's just the truth for you and people that share your belief in a way, because it got to a point where I'll get to that in a minute. But even your supporters, I'll say it like this, even your supporters that are also Christian, they believe in a different way than you. Ooh, I did that well. That was such a good transition, kind of. And so, an example of this, an example of you and your supporters all considering yourselves Christians, but some of you having faith in and believing in a different version of Christianity than the others. A video is scheduled to go up tomorrow morning on the channel, right? And I didn't unsub or anything like that because this was a weird interaction, but dude might be going through something. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like he really has it out for them. Maybe they have some kind of war with each other. But you really shouldn't let social media shit get you that hyped up, because it might not even be real people, bro. There are bots. What if somebody's just attacking you with Gnostic bots? That's a funny concept. You got Gnostic bots? I'll take care of those for you. So there's a video scheduled to go up in the morning called Descendants of the Millennial Reigners. And by reigners, it's, like a monarch reign. Like, the king reigned, And that's what's on the thumbnail. The actual title is Who Are We If Christ Already Reigned for 1,000 Years? Part 2. And my thing is, that's not like a mainstream belief of Christians. Most Christians don't believe Jesus already reigned for 1,000 years. That's a divergent, here it is again, a divergent theory. That's a divergent interpretation. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. Definitely not saying I believe that. But I'm not saying I don't believe it. I don't know. There's legit no way to prove that. And that's okay. That's okay to not be able to prove that. What is not necessarily okay is to posture yourself or attack other people as if you have or can prove that. Like you have proven it or that you can prove it. Because anytime someone comes at you kind of crazy, uh, they can't really do that. You know, I said my comment. It was kind of a long explanation, and I was trying to be as diplomatic as possible because I wasn't attacking him. I wasn't attacking Christianity. But it does really kind of sit with me weird how people form their own hypothesis and then attack everyone else's, like, aggressively too. Like, debate and discourse, I think those are healthy things. But attacking is weird. Unless it's, something that concerns you. Like, if it's concerning to you that the Gnostics believe differently than you, if you're saying like, oh, well, I care about your soul, I love you, and I don't want you to burn, or whatever you would say as a Christian, then okay, that I can kind of resonate with, because I have a similar thing where when I see people joining cults or participating in cults or acting as cult leaders, that shit bothers me, even if it's unintentional. And now that I say that, I'm gonna come back around to that because that's interesting. But the way that you act and respond doesn't, many times it doesn't come off the way that Christians or, Muslims or, the ex-Canaanites never promised to be nice or any of that stuff, so I won't include them. But many extremist and absolutist, like, faith havers, let's call them that, Abrahamic faith havers, say all these, like, kind of, very positive aspects and things about themselves and what they believe and practice and stuff, and then the way that they act does not match that shit at all. Like, when I put my comment in, he wasn't the first person to respond. The first people, more than one, beings to respond were like his followers. And one of them had like that blue star thing that you can do with channels now, which I have no intention of doing. To each their own. Whatever, but very aggressive. I was not talking to her. I was not even aware that she existed. And she answered as if she was him. She answered as if she was like, he knows this and he knows that and he has the right to blah blah blah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's not to say that you can't have your opinion on the situation or even what I said, but like, legit was answering as if she was him, like answering as him. She didn't say I, which that would have been very creepy, but might as well have been. She was like, he has hundreds. She did say hundreds, I think. She was like, he has hundreds of Gnostics yelling at him in the comments all the time, and he knows, blah blah blah, and I'm pretty sure he has the right to blah blah blah. I'm like, why are you so angry for this other dude? And then it just kept like progressing. It started to be like, so more people, more beings jumped in the same comments. And it got to a point where they were all like, they were all saying truth is not subjective, which I think now that they were saying that because I said, his truth and your truth and like my truth type statements. But that's all there is. You can't you can't say my truth is the only truth. That doesn't make any sense, You can definitely have faith in it, you can believe in it, but to start to impose that on someone that has a different belief than you makes very little sense unless you can prove it. And this is just me using like, science mind. Obviously, I talk about metaphysics and you know all kinds of stuff that I can't directly prove, but I have a lot of context clues and texts and things like that that I can reference. But in an argument or in a debate, I'm not going to bring you circumstantial books that other niggas wrote from their you know, perspectives or from their intuition that they may have even gotten from other niggas' interpretations and so on and so on, and then assert to you that that is the truth. You can't. That doesn't make any sense. And then if you try to do that, as was happening to me in these motherfucking comments, like it was so creepy. If it was one person and you're just going back and forth with one person, that's one thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of, social media has killed a lot of brain cells. But it's some different type shit when your phone just keeps going off and it's different niggas saying the same shit to you. You know? They kept saying truth is not, all three of them said truth is not subjective, and it felt super culty. It felt like they've met each other before and, like, you know, stood in a circle and said truth is not subjective, you know, like some weird shit. And I joke a lot, man. You know, I'm gonna say why I clarified that later. But the things that they started throwing Bible verses at me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does a Bible verse prove? You're not proving a thing to me by saying a Bible verse to me. I like to study text, not just the Bible though, the Enuma Elish, you know, anything, esoteric texts, like morals and dogma. Like, I'm not going to bring morals and dogma to you to try to prove something to you. I'm not going to bring the Rockefeller Manifesto to you to try to prove something to you, because I don't even know if they really wrote that shit, bro. Like, it's interesting, and it corroborates things that I believe I see in society. But I'm not going to bring those things to you as if they're fact. Like, and it's funny because when I said something like that to the dude, not the dude whose videos these are, there were three of them. A dude, a chick, actually there was more than that, but three of them kept going. There was a dude, a chick, and then the guy whose channel it is. The dude whose channel it is let his niggas get at me for a minute, and then he came in and was like, yeah, nigga. Not really. But he was like, you know, I have the right to do that. It was in the middle of a stream, and, you know, truth is not subjective. And you do have the right, and it's weird that you picked that out of the middle of a stream and just put that out there as your video. You have the right to do that. I know that, and I said that. That was the very first thing I said. Actually, the first thing I said was, I like your work, or I like his work. And then I said, it's weird, but he has the right to do it. And then I went through my opinion, you know? And from there, it devolved into very weird, dogmatic, like, Inquisition, like, Inquisition, almost kind of like crusade sounding talk. Like, like if this was a few years back and everybody was in person, these niggas would have torches, and I'd have to like talk myself out of the stockade or some shit, you know? The chick just kind of kept defending the dude, so I don't know if that's like a thing she has for him, or it's his girlfriend. It kind of felt like it was his girl, sort of, which, you know, whatever. That's not my business. But if it is, bruh, you need to ease that back. Because, like, standing from the outside, looking in at the standing from the outside, looking at all those comments, it ended up being like 25 comments, you know, within that thread, starting with my opinion. And the only person that you could say it was at was him. But she started throwing Bible verses at me. Then the dude started throwing Bible verses at me. There's this other person that was doing like paragraphs of Bible verses. And I'm just like, do y'all know that you're only proving something to yourselves? You're not proving anything to me. What I said was, if truth is not subjective, then prove what you're saying without using a book or the rapture, because the rapture hasn't happened. And the reason I said that was because a lot of beings are like, oh, well, you'll find out when the rapture happens. Or some of them are like, look around, Revelations is right. There's stuff happening right now. But most of the stuff that people say are from Revelations can be explained by different stuff. It's not to say that I believe one way or another, but it can be explained. In fact, with some of those explanations, that could have been what happened the first time. If it happened the first time. Like, and then the dude that I said, you know, prove without a book or without the rapture, was like, if you don't want to use books as proof, then you're going to have to remove all books. Think about it. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying to you, is that you can't use books as proof. Like, we're all programmed as children. I just watched a video talking about it, how two of the dudes that, you know, had a lot to do with the medical journals and the updates to like health stuff and educational stuff for children back in the day, which is what we still use a lot of that framework, I'll say. Not the same information, but the framework. One of them was Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Ghislaine, whatever your weirdo name is. Her dad is one of the people that was writing the shit that we are taught in schools. And best believe it might not be him anymore, but it's another nigga just like that. Like, so those books that you hold in such high regard mean shit. They mean nothing. As a matter of fact, the educational system as a whole, in totality, is to train you as a slave. He said that. He told you that. He said, I don't want a country of thinkers. I want a country of workers. Then they tricked everybody into accepting wage slavery. So, like, yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying. Books are not trustworthy for knowledge. Before a certain year, when they started doing stuff like removing ether from the periodic table and like demonizing the concept of ether so that they could sell everyone electrical power, like, these are things that I can go back and point at. You might need a little context because they're not necessarily going to say we're going to get rid of ether so we can sell them electricity. But I can show you where they did the things where that makes the most sense. And a lot of the time, they didn't care about really hiding it because there wasn't an internet. With a lot of these things, they'll remove ether one day and then the very next day, the company that's going to sell you electricity starts up. So, again, yes, when you say, if you don't want to take the Bible as a resource, then you might as well get rid of all books. Think about it. That is exactly what I just said to you. Yes, they kept doing that, where they would say something to me like it was so unbelievable, but that's what I just said. You know, it was very, I don't know, man. And I'm not trying to harp on it. I think it got to me a little bit more because I had some personal stuff going on today. But like, even with that, you're Christians, but you're like attacking people in comments, and you don't know what they have going on. All I did was put up my comment on a video at a channel that I frequent. That's not my first time watching or even commenting. And if this dude is gonna have a channel where he plans to make money and write books, I think he even wrote a book and all kinds of shit. Nigga, toughen up. People are gonna say negative shit to you. I was just telling myself that yesterday. Because someone gave me a really nice shout out and I got a really nice influx of supporters. And with the way my mind works, I was like, cool, you got some supporters, you're about to hit that milestone so you can go live. Prepare yourself for negativity. Because I'm not a puss, dude. Like, I know that is going to be, that's good, it's going to come with it. So I get that it doesn't feel good for people to disagree with you or to, poke holes in your working theory, or to try to poke holes in your working theory, or to, some people, I'm sure they do come at your faith or, your belief in Jesus in ways that are unbecoming or are not very nice. I'm not doing that. What are you attacking me for? That's weird, bruh. And I mean, just on a business level or on a professional level, don't you think that your followers doing that to people is maybe gonna make some people not want to pay attention to your shit anymore? Like, don't you think some people are gonna be like, I'm cool on this? That's strange to do. Like, I try to stay balanced, and above all, or above most, I'm doing research, so I'm not finna like stop paying attention, because I've seen the proof of dude's research capability, and it's good. And his editing, information together, also good. And even you putting up a video where you share your personal feelings, I'm doing that right now. I guess mostly what I'm pointing out is, if my supporters jumped into comments and started, kind of ganging up on or harassing somebody who was just expressing their opinion, especially if I see like, oh, they watch my shit a lot. They've commented before. Look at these comments. They're not trying to be a dick. That's just how that nigga talks. I would get at my supporters and be like, hey, bro, y'all need to chill out. Dude was just saying his opinion. Leave him alone. The fuck? But this is kind of what I talk about sometimes, man. Like, it really seems like people are falling into cult behavior and don't even realize it. Now, in this situation, this is denominational, religious type shit. So it's not as surprising, especially with, times being so rough right now, and Christians being kind of like the way that they're indoctrinated to be. It's some us and them shit, and some of them are telling, they always have been telling each other they're gonna burn in the hellfire, and the fear mongering is almost like a confirmation bias, where once you're accepted, you're no longer gonna burn in the lake of fire, but everybody else is. So now you get to be kind of like stoked that you get to tell other people that they're gonna burn in hell and shit. Not saying they told me I was gonna burn in hell. I'm not saying that. But it might as well have. Same thing. Like, they say things in very strange ways. And so the dude, it's funny too. The dude whose channel it is only commented once. This other dude, I could tell toward the end of these interactions, because I got to the point where I was like, look, I don't want to do this all day with y'all. If you need to feel like you've won something, then why not just move forward like you did? You can have it. It's not that important to me to like win against you. I can't prove what I'm saying. You can't prove what you're. I'm not even saying anything. So I'm not going to try to prove anything. You can't prove what you're saying, which is all that I'm saying. Doesn't need to be proven because it's just true. And it's not worth putting this much effort and shit into YouTube comments. This is weird. 25 comments, bro. I'm not trying to be here with y'all. At least not on some negative shit. If it was 25 comments on some positive shit, I'd be like, hey man, here's my Instagram. Let's jump on and keep this going. You know what I'm talking about? But this dude, I could tell he started to realize, because I started to just straight out say it. I'm like, do y'all see how you're acting? Paraphrasing, like, y'all are tripping on one person. Think about how this would come off if it was in person. 4 or 5 of y'all just yelling Bible verses and saying truth is not subjective at this dude that just gave his opinion. And arguably, it seemed like some of them, definitely the possible girlfriend chick, didn't even really like comprehend some of the things that I was saying correctly. Their interpretations, they kept saying that something I said was offensive, and I'm like, what did I say that was offensive to you? Because I said there were manipulations of all religions. Manipulations have happened in all religions. You can ask a pastor that, and they'll tell you that. Priests know that. The Vatican admits that. They tell you that they took Bibles, books out. Apocrypha that's what Apocrypha means. Right? So, how did I offend you by telling you the truth? What it really seemed like to me, and I'm not trying to be a dick or condescending or any of that shit, because that video was condescending as fuck. And I'm not even Gnostic, but it really felt like they only knew what. That it does make sense, but it might sound weird. It sounded like they only knew what they wanted to know. Like, I'll go study or read some shit that maybe isn't gonna prove. It's confirmation bias. Like, quoting Bible verses, that's confirmation bias. You're using your own thing to prove your point instead of having something else being like, I believe in Jesus. There that nigga is right there. You know what I mean? If you can do that, then shit, bro. What's up, Jesus? You got me. Let's go eat some fish. I don't eat fish, by the way. But you can't do that. You don't have, none of the gods are here. I really wish y'all would go watch this documentation series that I got, because I just talked about this shit in the 4th video. I am very proud of that 4th video. I talked about my working theory on all that shit. Where are the gods at? Why did they just stop showing themselves? Why would they just stop showing themselves all of a sudden? They never had a problem with that shit before. Don't come at me with because they're gods, or because he's God, or because she's God. They didn't give a fuck before. That's how you have your text. That's how you have your Bible. That's how you have your Enuma Elish. These are all texts of people giving their accounts of, religious religious-based shit or direct experience or, supposed historical events, and most of it's not really historical. We got to stop doing that too. You can't go to a verse in your text and call it history because there's nothing corroborating it. There's nothing the only thing that corroborates it is the story that they got it from. And if anything, that doesn't corroborate it in the way that you want it to. If you're a part of that religion, like, if you're Muslim or ex-Canaanite or Christian, the Abrahamic religions, y'all's texts are the same and they come from previous texts. But that doesn't mean that it's true. It just means that it's recycled. And I'm not see, now I might be coming off kind of shitty, but if you go look at them comments, bro, I think I have a right to feel away, because it just kept devolving into like, you're wrong and this is why you're wrong. And it's, where did you even come from? Who are you? Who are you? So anyway, this dude, he starts to realize that they're like ganging up on me almost. And I'm still being like as respectful as I can be. I'm not cussing at him. I'm not calling him names, and not doing any of that shit. And he didn't say that I find this interesting. He didn't say that he started to feel that way in those comments. He came over to my comments on the first note that I left myself to remember what I wanted to talk about in this video, and left a super long ass comment. And this is after I'm like, basically like, can y'all leave me alone? Like, just, if you want to feel like you won, you got it. You're correct. Your truth is the almighty truth. Like, that's weird to just keep bothering people until they are so, I don't know what adjective to use, but to keep going at them until they don't actually believe you, or that what you're saying is the truth. You've just kept going until they're like, all right, man, shit, okay, whatever, dude. That's not, I feel like that's not what your goal is. And most Christians, I feel like, say that their goal is to save other souls or to bring other souls to Christ or to whatever. That is not the way to do that. I'll let y'all know that shit right now. That's not the way to do that. If people went on missions to other countries acting like that, you'd have the Crusades. You'd have some genocides. Oh, wait. Shit. Did that happen? Is that happening right now? So yeah, dude came over to my comments and left a pretty long comment, and half apologized, but then it was like a qualifying apology. Like, I did kind of look back at the comments, and that was blah blah blah, but then he like condescended to me, like, but I do think you're looking for something, and I do hope you find Jesus, because it's the only way, and so on and so on and so on. I'm like, bro, you didn't learn nothing. You just came over here to continue to do what you were just doing. And you reset a little bit, so it is coming off as less aggressive at first. But when I add this to what you were doing over there, this is still aggressive. This is more aggressive. You done came over here and started doing the same shit. And so instead of being like, okay, I accept your apology and it's okay and so on and so on, I'm not a Christian. I'm not none of that. I'm not, I have my own knowing, and it has pieces of other things in it. There's some Christianity, there's some Buddhism, there's everything. There's some Gnosticism, there's whatever the fuck resonates with me. I absorb that. If it resonates with me, then it makes sense. And so I'm not a Christian, so I'm not going to turn the other cheek and be like, yeah, it's cool, don't worry about it. That shit wasn't cool. I was not having the greatest of days after having a very good day the day before. And that's not your fault or even your problem. But even still, you know, everybody's experience files into how they experience. And, you know, even in the other dude's comments, I commented on his video. So that is essentially, not to say that other people couldn't jump in there, but that's me giving my opinion on his work, on what I am listening to, you know, what I just listened to. For you to feel the urge or need or responsibility, it seemed like, to come into those comments and do what y'all did, that was fucking weird. That was very cult like. You didn't need to do that. He at some point saw the situation and was like, let me defend myself instead of these weirdos jumping on this nigga like this. He didn't stop him though, I will say that. And then you come over to my channel and leave this gigantic, you know, thing. And so instead of me being like, okay, well, that's cool, I was like, hey, would you want to, like, have a discourse or a debate or even just a conversation about the nature of truth and the other themes that were discussed here? Because I didn't say this, but to be honest, I feel like I would ether you, bruh. You know? Because you're relying on the very same book that proves nothing. It doesn't prove anything. That is what you have faith in, and that's okay. That is okay. I'm not shitting on the fact that you have faith. Beings need faith. And the semantics of some beings saying, oh, you're still a Christian? Ugh. That's dumb too. Because most of these niggas are taking their Christianity, their Christian indoctrination, and they're just transmuting it into another faith, in something outside of themselves. So instead of Jesus coming back to save them, the serious people are coming back to save them, or the Sumerian aliens are coming to save them, or they're just waiting on certain stuff. And I've just gotten to the point where I'm not really waiting on shit. I'm just like, as patiently as I can, waiting for whatever it is to pop off, because I'm tired of this shit, bro. Tired of this shit. The tiredness that I feel feels compounded. Like, I'm not even just feeling the tiredness from this experience. It feels like it's from other ones too. And who knows if that's true or not. Maybe I'm just so tired it feels like that. But regardless, none of us know anything. We only think we do. We have an illusion of truth. We have an illusion of assuredness. And again, that's okay, but it makes it not so okay when you then take that and go and try to impose it on other niggas. Like, that's weird. It's weird to do that. Like I said, unless you can prove it. If you can prove some shit, get to it. That's cool, but don't use the Bible. And they didn't even use the rapture saying. A lot of the time they're like, oh, the rapture is going to show everybody. But they didn't do that. I'll give them credit. But I will say, like, using all the Bible verses, bro, that didn't do what you thought it was doing. And, as far as that dude goes, either of them, really, the dude whose channel it is or the dude that was caping for him in the comments, like, I would like to have a discourse, because I do think that I can show what I'm saying. I can show even without like just repeatedly saying that's your faith, so it's not true. I can show manipulations in that faith system and the other Abrahamic ones. I can show manipulations of historical accounts and time. I can show inconsistencies. I can show accounts of things that are taken differently. Like, there are so many ways that I can show you that truth is subjective. One person's truth is not another person's truth. That's just facts. As a matter of fact, like, just on an objective level, like, your eyes see a color differently than mine. The red that I see is not the red that you see. The green that you see is not the green that I see. This is also fact. So your truth of what that color green is not the truth. It's your truth. I can do that all day long. And as much as I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or condescend. This is a response, because that shit was very weird. But either way, it was interesting to see. And I feel like that's kind of like training for dealing with how people might turn out soon. Because honestly, like I said originally in one of those other shorter clip videos, it felt like some frequency shit. When I went outside with the little homie today, the clouds were creepy. It was just like thick bars of clouds, very symmetrical, geometrical bars of clouds in a row. It looked like some fucking Simpson shit, but more neat. Just a bunch of lines. And that to me means like some frequency shit, some low frequency or extremely low frequency shit. Meaning, that could have been what was going on with people's energy, because it was across the board. It really was across the board. Like I said, even in personal shit. And I'm trying to stick to my, I don't want to call it optimism, just contentment. Like, I'm not trying to let all this shit bother me, even the more serious stuff, because some kind of serious shit happened today, and has been happening. But I'm not about to let that, what am I gonna die over it? Like, death is not real, and I'm not letting anybody loose the fuck out of me, bruh. It's starting to really feel like that's the intent behind a lot of these things, is to like get you in your feelings or to make you upset or angry. I'm done with that, And maybe my hopes and thoughts that I can talk people into logic and talk people out of like being lame to each other, maybe that's a pipe dream, but it doesn't mean I'm not gonna keep trying. I just get passionate about it because I love y'all, man. And it's like, that shit was like watching people with rabies or something, kind of. That sounds fucked up, but it is though. That's what that felt like. It felt like watching people with rabies, like just kind of, but not knowing that that's what they were doing. Very weird. But I'm gonna move off that. I needed to get some of those points out. I will still debate you. I will still have a conversation or a debate or a discourse or whatever you want to call it. Because I'm very confident in what I've said. I don't know if if I want to talk about my personal shit right now. Maybe I'll wait a little bit to talk about that because I'm still pretty close to it right now. And it's not really cool. Yeah, so I saw, I posted a clip of a dude that works with video editing software, high-end video editing software. Sony something, I can't remember what it was, but he, you know, extracts the video and audio from movies and then uses it to edit down or cut down like stuff for a channel. I don't know what he said he did it for. But he was basically saying, and I can attest to this because I've done some of that shit myself, and also like recorded music and shit, and you get a visual representation of either the audio if you're just doing music, or the video and the audio. A visual representation to help you with editing. And he said that anytime you import like a movie or a music video or any of that shit, you have the video, and then you have you essentially have like the video track. I don't know if I like calling it that, but that's what it was presented as, the video track and the audio track. So the audio is all in one track, one bar, and you see the waves of the frequency as it goes. I'm sure everyone has seen that by this point. He said he imported that movie, Leave the World Behind, and when it loaded, when it finished importing, Leave the World Behind had like 4 different audio tracks. So it went from the common one audio track to this movie having 4 audio tracks. And he even said, this is the one that looks like the weapon. And he works with audio, so I would think he would know. If you want to see it, go look at my reels. It's in the reels. But it's funny, I even commented on the original, like, I legit muted the movie a bunch of times because it sounded weird. Like I felt, I do this a lot though. You know when bombs go off in TV shows and movies and shit, or when someone gets punched in the head, or, you know, whatever, just any kind of trauma or any kind of, you know, intense moment that they're trying to draw attention to, that tinnitus sound, which tinnitus is not a real thing. Let's just say that tinnitus is not a real thing. That is some frequency shit that was they're using a word to explain away a phenomena that is not organic or natural. Tinnitus is not a real thing. That is weaponized frequency. You're being bombarded with weaponized frequency. So when you hear that tinnitus shit in your ear and you think you're ascending and shit, you may be, but it's much more likely that that is from the many microwaves, extremely low frequency waves and low frequency waves that are constantly being broadcast on, blanketing all of us at all times. Shout out, look out for Charlie, man. He has some really good shit on that. Look out for Charlie. F.A. Look out for Charlie. Also, I have a couple of videos talking about it. Harpsichord Omni Weapon. Which I thought was slick, because harp, they don't fuck around with you talking about that in certain ways. But, it really, I don't know when that picked up so hard, that tinnitus sound, but they do it in a lot of movies and TV now, constantly. There was one, I almost turned something off because they kept doing that when someone used their powers. What fucking movie is that? It's a show or something. I can't remember. But yeah, I muted Leave the World Behind like a bunch of times while it was playing. Initially, the first time I watched it. And I'm glad I did. They even showed a depiction of the kid, the little weird pervert son boy. You know, he didn't really cover his ears up at first, and he fell to the ground. His shit was all fucked up. They kind of alluded to a bug biting him. Spoiler alert, I guess. Shit, I just started talking about. And it could have been, because it was a pretty big bug. And I think they do intend on using some pestilence shit on us. Probably already released. Wink, wink. There's videos of, you know, potentially fake or non-fake helicopters dumping clouds of flying insects out of them at festivals and shit. I believe they did that. For multiple reasons. But I think that we may see more people start to mess around with these movies and see what they're doing with the art, because people are already doing the video part. You know, they're finding little Easter eggs, and because it's you can monetize it. I don't even think people really give a fuck. I think it's because you can make money off of it mostly, which is sad. But people are doing the video part, but the audio part, that's important, because frequency really, really affects your being, your soul. You know, consciousness, every portion of you is affected by frequency, light and sound. So I mean, I wasn't really surprised. I remember muting the movie a good number of times when watching it, and I don't know. It's not to fearmonger. I don't think anybody should be afraid. Especially if you've made it this far into this video, then I think that I'm not saying it because I you know, oh, I need you to watch the whole video, but I am long-winded, and I already knew that. I for sure knew that. But when I started looking at my analytics and seeing people dip out after 8 minutes, bro, I'm not even warm at 8 minutes most of the time. You feel what I'm saying? That's why some of these videos have parts. But I digress. I was not surprised to see that about that movie. That whole thing was, you know, shit like that. That whole predictive programming thing that they did with that movie, and the supposed sacrifice of what's his name, Chandler from Friends, and then them making fun of that in half the movie. Shit like that is why I'm doing this research, man. Shit like that is why I'm studying and doing this research, because there are some, you know, more down to earth and plausible reasons for all that shit to line up like that. But it's more likely that that it's some weird shit, you know? And by some weird shit, I mean, like, is it a way to explain what this place is, what this simulation is? If I were to figure that out, would I understand this better? These are the things my head keeps wondering. I don't think that that's going to be the last. It isn't. There's already another one coming. That Civil War movie. They're going to release that Civil War movie at some point. And people tell each other and themselves that they're not being affected by these, predictive programming scenarios and movies and TVs and shit. But the reality is, you likely already have been. It's a very slow process. You watch zombie movies over and over again. You watch a zombie show for 15 years, I think it's been. 20 years? How long is The Walking Dead been on? I don't know. I don't watch that shit. Um, but it settles in your subconscious. Right, even right now, everyone has seen so many depictions of an apocalyptic event or a zombie apocalypse or whatever it is, that they think they don't know what they're gonna do when it happens. But a lot of people are gonna devolve into animals because of what they've seen in these old goofy ass movies, man. Y'all are watching shit like The Book of Eli, really good movie, and then you go act like that later because you've seen it so many times. And that's not by accident, that's by design. It's trying to program you so that when the thing does happen, you don't go calmly talk to your neighbors in a circle in the middle of your street. You go to another neighborhood and start robbing niggas and shit. Like, these are the things. Once the shit starts to wear off, or once it starts to reach a point where this is not the civilization that you recognize anymore, I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, it's time to do the Walking Dead thing. I'm going to get a staff. I'm going to get a bow staff. I'm going to get, some guns and a bat. And I'm just going to, knock people the fuck out. Like, it's not to say that that's absolute. I don't really like absolutes. But I do think a lot of people are more suggestible than maybe they realize or want to be. And it's a big part for why I started talking, because I was really anonymous at first and wanted to stay that way, but it seemed like bots and algorithms and stuff were really keeping people in the same spot. And it's not to say that I'm giving myself credit for it, because I'm not, but I started talking, a month ago? 3 months ago? I don't remember. And now I see things that I have shared concern about being talked about. And I don't really need any recognition. If the person did see me talk about a thing, I don't need them to be like, oh, what's his name, blah, blah, blah. I would rather more people talk about it, and we do something. I would rather those things happen. Although, man, I really do worry about if everything were to fucking pop off right now. Even if the space, is in better standings. I don't know what to call it. I'm still worried about people being dumb or nuts or crazy or all three. But at the same time, though, there it is again. I keep moving back and forth off my thought on absolute true love. Because I catch myself thinking about stuff and I'm like, bro, that is not your business. That's not your business. Don't worry about that. Let them worry about that. But just have this very deep feeling that I love everybody. and don't necessarily know what it means, but I know that I do. I don't know. Man, there was that, I don't think I really have new stuff to say about the Blue Star Kachina video and the, I almost said Mars video, but, the Florida mall video. What I will say is that they said they were 10 feet tall, and that's how big they said they were in Peru. So they had things on their feet. All the stuff they said was very documented technology that the government has. And the dudes were talking in a discernible language in Peru. So, I don't know. I'm almost like we should hold off and see what what stuff they're doing in the background, because anytime they need to push like some legislation that's real fucked up, they do that. Or you know, or it's to push things along. Like, and that goes for that list too. Because I mean, dude, that clip, there, like, God, it had to have been like 300 cop cars and cops, 300 are surrounding a mall. Completely unnecessary. I don't need that many people. It was a show. It was a light show. Maybe it was a light show. Who the fuck knows? The Blue Star Kachina thing, that was very intriguing though. And I'm not a video expert, so I can't say whether it's fake or not. I tend to, if I can't find another version of that, like if I can't create a redundancy, then I'm just kind of like, all right, well, we'll see. That's about as far as I go with it, is you'll see. Or we'll see. Because, I mean, there's too many different groups that stand to gain something from freaking people the fuck out with something that's not real at all. I feel like there was another thing. I can't remember what it was though. Maybe it was that personal shit that I'm not going to talk about yet. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else, man. I spent a lot of time trying to break down that whole comment section thing, but I don't, I don't want people to think that I'm just in comments trying to start shit with people, because honestly the shit was started with me after I did like the rest of them did and made a comment on somebody's video. I think that's the main difference, is like, sure, the comment section is here for that, but I was talking to no one about this dude. You are talking to me for this dude. That's a wild distinction. So yeah, I'm gonna go try to relax. Today's been fucking weird on so many levels, and practice some escapism, mental escapism, and oh yeah, I did mention that I'm on Instagram live in these videos. The name is the same as the one on YouTube, and vice versa. If you're on Instagram, I have a YouTube. It'd be cool if you go check it out. Either way, if you would support, if you want to support, taking it a step further by, like, throwing me a random hey, you said this, but my research, you know what I mean? Some comments that let me know things instead of barrages of crazy. Anyway, oh yeah.